Today, we're going to be going over the number one way for your e-commerce brand to maximize sales in 2024 so you can turn first-time buyers into repeat customers, lower your CPA so you can become a more profitable brand. So let's jump right into it. As you see here, we have a typical funnel where you're spending a lot of money on ads to get customers. So you have your customer acquisition. You're all about trying to get first-time buyers into your funnel for your brand. Then on the other side here, you have repeat purchasers. So only a set amount of people are going to repeat purchase from your brand. We know that there's probably a number or a cap that you have determined that it looks like, X percentage of customers are repeat purchasing. And so how do we generate more repeat purchasers? And that's what we're going to talk about and kind of go through this whole funnel of how we want to accomplish that and how can we do that in the most profitable way, as far as time and as well as resources. So what we're looking at here is what are the biggest factors in driving repeat purchases for an e-commerce brand? Well, believe it or not, it's not some special email flow. It's not a special ad creative, but it's the actual product itself, right? That may make sense to some people, but for other people, it might not. So at the end of the day, if the product that you get into their hands is not good, then why would they buy again? As well as, can they actually buy another one or more of your product? These are things that factor into the number of repeat purchasers that your brand can create. So how was their experience with the product? Huge factor. If it was bad, they're not going to buy again. If it was great, they're probably thinking about buying again. What is their perceived value of your product? Is it something that they need? Is it just something that they want? Is it something that would be nice to have, but it doesn't really solve a problem? Is it a vitamin or a painkiller? Does it add to your day? Or is it something that once you buy, you can't live without? And do they need more of it and or another one? Is it something that they purchase multiple of? Is it something that they run out of? Is it a consumable? These things factor in to the number of repeat purchases that you're able to generate. And these might be the biggest fact. These are the biggest factors. And what that means is email marketing or, ads have less effect on repeat purchasers, driving repeat purchases than the product itself. And so I talk to some brands who want to increase their LTV, but then you look at their brand and 98% of sales come from one product, and that specific product isn't something that is consumable. It's not something that's all that great. It might have good reviews, but as we know, a lot of reviews are, fake. And so how is the product? Well, if it's a 6 out of 10 product and you really don't even have to buy it multiple times or more than once, then there's really not that much potential there aside from setting up your basic things and just hoping that the product gets better, right? And so the product's a huge factor. And so if we know that the product's the biggest factor, how can we generate more repeat purchases? Well, we know that 90% of sales come from past purchasers. And so when we're sending out, 90%, up to 90% of campaign sales come from past purchasers as far as email marketing campaigns go. And so when we're sending these campaigns out, what is the idea behind them? Why are we sending them out if 90% of them are repeat purchasers, past purchasers? Well, it's the mirror exposure effect is one thing. So we're trying to stay top of mind and stay in front of the customers that you guys have already spent money to acquire and have brought them onto your list. So if you don't know what the mirror exposure effect is, all it means is that as your presence increase and your exposure increases in front of your customers, so they're more exposed to your brand they are, the bigger the preference of your brand. So like the better they're going to like you as a brand. That's the easiest way to explain that. And so campaigns, the focus here is the mirror exposure effect to get in front of them and stay top of mind. And then to drive cheap traffic to your site. So the traffic that your campaigns generate are mostly past purchasers, which means they're people who know, like, and trust you. They like your products and they're probably going to buy again. And so if you're able to generate, let's just say you have a list of 100, I'm going to break a rule here, no public math, right? But 100,000 people on your list, you get 50% open rates, you have 50,000 people. For easy math for me, let's just say 10% of people click, which is pretty great. That's 5,000 people, right? So if 5,000 people click your email and go to your site, That's a lot of cheap traffic. And these are people who are highly interested. They know, like, and trust you. So it's going to generate repeat purchases, which is great because it's going to boost your LTV. But aside from that, what can we do to actually get more repeat purchases? So is sending campaigns all that we can do? And the answer is no. So let's go back to what the most common factor in repeat purchases is. If we go back over here, the product is the biggest factor in this. And so if we know that the customer has used the product and has had a good experience with it, if we know that that's the biggest factor in driving repeat purchases, in order to get more repeat purchases, what would the goal be? Well, the goal would be getting the product in the hands of more customers so they can have this great experience, which means we need to do what? Well, we need to convert more people to first-time buyers. We need to get the product in the hands of more customers. And so if the product is the 80-20 rule of repeat purchases, if the product's great, then it's going to generate repeat purchases on its own. You have campaign sending, so you know you're covering that basis. But what else do you do? Well, you just need to get the product in more hands so that they can have the great experience, so that they can use the product and buy more of it. And so as long as you know that they buy it once and they're probably going to buy again, then the goal here is to convert more first-time purchases, more first-time buyers. And so how can we convert more first-time buyers? Well, what we're going to be doing here, what we're going to be focusing on is optimizing your welcome flow. And so the welcome flow is triggered when someone gets added to your list, and that's through a pop-up. Our focuses here are on the pop-up form and, more importantly, your welcome flow conversion rate. So a lot of people make the mistake of focusing just on the pop-up conversion rate, but the more important metric is what percentage of those people are converting on your welcome flow. And then, as we know, in the first 24 to 48 hours of opting into the email list, that's when most of the first-time purchases occur. And so how can we optimize these three things here to leverage converting more first-time customers, which entail, as we just determined, would then generate more repeat purchases? So it might seem like a backwards plan here in order to get more repeat purchases, you need more first-time buyers. But, as a marketer, specifically for email marketing and marketing your e-commerce brand, aside from the product itself, what other ways are there to do this? And this is the best way. And so optimizing your pop-up. Let's focus here real fast on how to optimize your pop-up, and then we'll go into how to optimize your welcome flow conversion rate. So the goal with your opt-in is not just how many people join the list, like a lot of people talk about, but it's how many people join the list and purchased, because what we're going for here is the conversion from non-buyer to buyer. And so you have your pop-up. Let's say you're using a native Klaviyo pop-up or maybe an amp.io pop-up. You have a mobile, desktop, and footer version. So a lot of brands don't have all three of these. A lot of brands just have one, and it's not really mobile or desktop optimized. Maybe they don't have any pop-up and they just have a footer opt-in. You need to have all three of these set up properly so that you're collecting as much data from the traffic that you're spending so much money on when it hits your site. If you don't have a pop-up, you're losing out on 8 to 15% of potentially captured emails from your site traffic visitors. So your pop-up, there's several ways to do a pop-up, and you're going to have to test this, but we typically do this Trojan horse style 4-step pop-up, if you could call it that. And so what we're going to be talking about specifically in this next section is how to convert more first-time buyers. And what we're going to leverage here is this zero-party data. If you don't know what zero-party data is information that the customer is voluntarily sharing with your brand, such as their preferences, their purchase intentions, their personal information, as far as email and first name, last name, why they're on your site, and essentially how to best service their needs. And so I'll show you a couple examples of brands that do this well. I'll also show you a bad example of this. But essentially, we just want to gather some data about them on how to make their experience better And what we'll do is we'll leverage this information in our marketing, specifically in these welcome emails. And the goal here is to boost the conversion rates because we know more about them and we can personalize the copy, the headlines, the offers, the content in the emails to better service them, to give them a better experience, and in turn boost those conversion rates. So we have the gathering the zero data here. I just want to ask a question. What can we ask to understand why they came to your site? So let's say you sell candles, and let's say they're eco-friendly candles. Let's say, maybe you could ask them, what's your favorite part about the candles? Do you like the fact that they're soy wax? Do you like the fact that you have cool scents, nice fragrances? Do you like the fact that they come in bundles? Any of these things? Do you like the colors of the candles, the designs, I should say? We are going to leverage these in the welcome flow emails. And so this is going to allow us to provide a much more targeted messaging, like I just said. So you have the gather the zero party data, then you have your email opt-in, your SMS opt-in, and your success message. And sometimes you might want to have the SMS opt-in later on, as far as you just collect the email, give them the code, and then maybe next time they go to your site, you collect the SMS. Several ways to go about this, but the goal here and what we're specifically talking about is gathering the zero party data and how to leverage that to make your messaging more targeted. So for your brand, you know what a pop-up is, I'm assuming. And if you, maybe I shouldn't assume that. These are pop-ups if you haven't seen one. So this is a bad example of gathering more data about your customer. So get 10% off. We won't out the brand here because we're going to talk a little bit of talk bad about this, but sign up to our newsletter and get 10% off your first order plus early access to sale and updates. Early access to sale. We got a little typo there on sale and updates on new product launches excludes sale. So this is an interesting pop-up. One, it's worded pretty poorly, but they're asking for your email, your first name, the country, the phone number, and date of birth, and then male or female. This is a bad example because the country isn't the biggest thing. Like, you don't need to know that. Yes, it would be nice to know, I guess, but it's not what we're going for here. The phone number and the email in the same pop-up, also a little too much friction. Offers unclear. This is text. One, it doesn't make sense. Two, signing up to our newsletter. You don't want to have the word newsletter there. People don't like the word newsletter anymore. They understand that you're just marketing to them. You're going to push products and give them advertising, and they don't really want that. They're just here for the discount. So it would be a lot better if it just said get 10% off your first order, and then probably just left it at that. But you also don't, like, the date of birth is something you can ask differently. So this is just a bad example. The only thing that might be beneficial here is male or female. I believe this brand was an apparel brand, so that would be useful, but this is way too much friction for a pop-up, and you are not going to get a very good conversion rate here, and you're also not gathering necessarily important information that you can leverage. So this is overall a dud pop-up. It's going to get low conversion, and there's really nothing to leverage here besides the male and female. And so here are some great examples. A great example of this is Mudwater. They have this pop-up where it says, get to first base with enlightenment. One, that's pretty funny. Two, what brought you here today? So are you trying to, if you don't know what Mudwater is, they sell a natural energy and focus without the jitters, basically a coffee replacement. And I think they sell another product as well, but they have some starter kits, morning rituals. If you go to shop all here, shout out Mudwater. I've actually tried it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. They have some different ones here, but mainly it's a coffee replacement, so you don't get the jitters. And so, are you here to quit coffee? Are you trying to reduce your caffeine intakes? Are you trying to discover the benefits of mushrooms? Wait, where am I? So these are things that you can build off of and leverage. So if someone's here to quit coffee, we'll kind of save that for later. I go into some examples here in a minute, but let's keep going. Sign up to unlock 10% off your first purchase. This is Manscaped, pretty big brand now, so you've probably seen them. What body parts are you here to help groom? My whole body, my groin, my beard. So they probably have specific things for your whole body or your groin or your beard. And so they're going to be able to market specifically to products that you are looking for and try to help you achieve the desired outcome that you came to their website for. I also like we do this for our clients. No thanks. I don't like saving money. This is great. They either have to find the X up here, click out of the box, or click no thanks. And a lot of people are just not willing to click no thanks. I don't like saving money. So they'll give you their information. But this is a great example. Gymshark is also another example. So if you're a apparel brand, you probably do this. A lot of apparel brands do. But are you a male or female so they can show you male or female apparel? So if you're a guy, you don't really want to be seeing leggings because you're not going to buy leggings, women's leggings, right? So that's a good one. Magic Spoon also has a really nice one. What is your birthday? When people see this, it's like they call it out. $5 off your order plus get a gift for your birthday. So it's not like this one up here where it's like, hey, what's your date of birth? You might as well have asked for your social security number here because that's how it feels, right? But this one's like you're going to get a gift on your birthday. So go ahead and let us know what your birthday is. And then let us know if you follow a particular diet. Are you a keto diet? Are you plant-based? Are you carnivore diet? These are they probably don't ask carnivore diet, but are you gluten-free? These are the kind of things that they're wanting to know because they have specific products. If we go here to Magic Spoon, they have protein diets. They have build your own. So high protein treats. They have other things. We kind of scroll around. Keto friendly. Are you gluten free, grain free? Are you here for like all natural flavors? There's several ways to go about this. And this is a great one. So they can leverage that in their email flows. So to take Mudwater, for example, let's say someone clicked quitting coffee. And so one of the things is optimizing our welcome flow. And let's take quitting coffee, for example. So we want to leverage this zero-party data that we've now received in our pop-up, and we want to leverage it in our copy, in our offers within the flow, within this flow to make it more appealing to the customer's specific wants and needs and the desired outcome that they're trying to achieve. And so quitting coffee, let's take this example. Email one of your welcome flow. You might introduce them into the brand, show your unique selling propositions, your USPs, show them reviews and best sellers. Well, now that you have this data, you can do an intro, but you can show them instead of best sellers, you can show them the coffee replacement because that's what they're here for. They don't need to know about the sleep supplement type drink that Mudwater has because it's not about better sleep. It's about quitting coffee. So you can show specifically that, and then you can show why it's better than coffee. Because you know that they're trying to quit coffee, they're probably like, well, how is this any better than coffee? Like, why is it different? You can leverage that information now that you know what they're there for. Review of it helping someone ditch coffee. So they probably have reviews like, oh my gosh, after 7 days of drinking Mudwater, I no longer crave coffee. I'm feeling XYZ better. And you can leverage this specific review into this email because let's say they were here to, what was the other options? Let's say they wanted to reduce caffeine. Let's say they wanted to hear the benefits of mushrooms. And this whole email was about coffee replacements and why it's better than coffee. Well, yes, they still might convert, but if you talk specifically about the mushroom benefits, they would have converted. They were more likely to convert because they told you what they wanted and you answered it. So quitting coffee is the objective here. So review of it helping someone ditch coffee is probably what they need to see. Email two, you're going to give them your brand story, your brand history, basically your brand background of who you guys are. So how your brand came about, the story behind why you made a coffee replacement. So maybe you do a from the founder and it's like, hey, I used to drink coffee for 16 years, but I think these guys are a little bit younger than that. But I used to drink coffee for 5 years while I was working, this corporate 9-to-5 job, and I just always had jitters. Coffee made me feel this way, this way, this way. And this is the reason why we made this. And these are the benefits of, like, this is why we made it. This is why it's better. Then you can also leverage another review of how it's better than coffee. Email three, in most cases, you're showing the best sellers here if you don't have any information. But now that you know what they are wanting from you, they want to quit coffee, you can actually highlight the main coffee replacement product and any complementary accessories that help benefit the ditching of coffee. And so you can also add some more specific reviews. And so do you see how this standard of, let's just intro them to the brand, be like, hey, we have a 30-day money back guarantee. We are a brand who did a mushroom supplement that like can kind of replace coffee, and here's a couple of reviews, and the reviews are like, oh, I love this product. It helps me sleep at night. It doesn't make me feel like I have jitters. And then here are our top three products. Here's a sleeping one, here's a digestive one, here's a coffee one. And that's vague. But now that you have this information, you can segment your welcome flow and do a bunch of conditional splits where you can leverage the data. You give them the brand history and the story. Without the background of why they're there, you can't tailor this approach. You just give your brand story. But if you know, like maybe they want to know the mushroom benefits, then you do a brand specific story of like why you started this brand, because there's probably several reasons why. You wanted to get a coffee replacement, but you were also interested in the mushrooms and the benefits of that. And so because you have those as your brand history, you can segment a part of your brand story to specifically talk to that customer and the things that they want to hear about. Same thing with the best sellers. We just talked about that one, highlighting the main product that they want to purchase or that they should purchase, the one that's going to help them the most as far as completing that desire. Then that's what you want to highlight here instead of just some broad best sellers. And you still might want to show other products, but you want to highlight the main one specifically. So if it was the mushrooms, if it was the lower caffeine other drink that they have, is it about quitting coffee? This is what you want to talk about. And so the goal here is increasing your conversion rates from non-buyers to first-time buyers in this welcome flow. That's the goal. And so I hope this makes sense when you see like, okay, how do we drive more repeat purchases? Well, the 80-20 rule is the product's got to be good. So if the product's solid, then we're going to have some repeat purchases, and marketing is not going to do as much for that as having a great product with a great experience and a bunch of reviews and people loving it. And so how do we generate more repeat purchases? Well, we're sending the campaigns out. That's a great way to do it. But how else can we do it? Well, if we know that in order to get someone to repeat purchase, they have to have the product physically in hand, which means they have to have purchased the product at least once. So we need to optimize for converting the most amount of first-time buyers in this funnel. So how can we convert more people at the front of this funnel? Because let's say there's 100 people here and 10 people here. If we want to get this number to 100 and we don't increase this part, it's going to be hard to go from, what is that, 10% public math? Again, another law broken here. 10 or 110, if we want to get this to 100, we might as well just make this 1,000 people who've purchased first time and then push them through and let the product do the repeat purchasing for us. And so we optimize the pop-up by gathering that zero-party data, and we leverage it in the welcome flow. And so to show you kind of the difference here, and let's kind of move this over as well. So what we want to talk about is pop-up 1 versus pop-up 2. And so pop-up 1, let's say we're not gathering any zero-party data. You might have a higher conversion rate on the pop-up, so maybe 12% versus 10%. But if you, like, the goal isn't to just fill the list with as many people as possible. The goal, like, that is a good goal, but the better goal is to convert more people into first-time buyers. That is what's going to drive more repeat purchases. That is what is going to drive more profit for your brand, and that is how you're going to maximize your sales. So let's say we don't gather the data. We get a 12% conversion rate, 12,000 people out of 100,000. Let's say our AOV is $100 for easy math, because public math is hard. 55% of those people open. 6,600 people opened your emails. 396 clicked if it's a 6% click rate, and then 4% of those people ordered. That's 15 at $100 AOV, $1,500, right? But even if you have a lower conversion rate here because you're asking a more specific question, maybe some people click off, maybe you only get 10,000 people in. Let's say you get the same open rate, which may or may not happen if you know exactly what they want, you can probably get this a bit higher than what you normally would. So 5,500 people, but 13% of them click because your messaging is targeting quitting coffee versus why having less caffeine matters or the benefits of mushrooms. You're talking specifically to why they're on the site in the first place, which means more of them are also going to place orders because the messaging that they received is what they needed to convert. It was the questions that they had, it was on the topic that they desired to learn about. Therefore, you convert 7% instead of 4%. So 5,500 turns into 715 people clicking, going on the website. And let's say you have a 7% placed order rate out of those people, then you've just generated an extra $3,500, public math. And all about it was all just from segmenting a little bit on gathering that zero party data. And these are conservative numbers. Maybe this is lower without that data, and maybe this is a bunch higher. Maybe the open rate is higher. Maybe the conversion rate is actually higher. We've added questions to a pop-up and we've seen a conversion rate increase, even though we've added 1 to 2 steps in the pop-up. But the goal here is this number and getting that maximized so that we can then fill the funnel up with more first-time buyers, let the product do the talking, and generate the repeat purchasers, all while they're in this funnel, they're in the welcome flow. Let's say they don't convert. Then we're still sending them campaigns. We're still using the mirror exposure effect. We're still driving cheap traffic to the site. Yes, it's mostly past purchasers, but it's still going to generate repeat purchases, and we're still going to be able to boost the LTV of your customers through both of these methods, which means that you're going to have a lower CPA, which means you're more profitable, which means you can go and expand. You can get a bigger warehouse. You can spend more on ads. You can hire a bigger team. You can hire a better media buyer. You can do all these different things with your brand because you've now lowered your CPA and increased your LTV, all just by gathering a little bit more data in your pop-up and leveraging that in your flows to boost conversions. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is the exact method that we're using for our clients to help them maximize their ecom sales this year in 2024. And it's all about the zero party data, generating that extra bit of personalized, not the first name personalization, but rather the data specific to the messaging that they require in order to convert as a customer for your brand. And so hopefully this was helpful. If you liked it, drop a comment below on what you want to learn more about. If you have any video suggestions, let me know. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll be posting 3 times a week as of right now. Maybe that goes up to 5. Maybe that goes down to 2. I don't know. But right now the goal is 3 times a week. So let me know if it's been valuable, and take care.